Hello, everyone. So I am back. I've had a little bit of an epic journey. A very, very dear family friend who was like, in so many ways, a parental figure to myself and very much so to my husband too, passed away unexpectedly. So it's been a journey. And then my husband's dad died 2 months ago. So it's been a little kooky. A lot of stuff going on, and somebody's here, but I can't tell who you are. Oh, hey, Tana, how are you? So I wanted to hop back on here after a little bit of a sabbatical, just to go deal with the funeral and everything in Chicago, and share this idea with you. Often what I find when I work with people, what I really like to let them know when we're working one-on-one is very, very strong emotions can surface when you tap, and if you let people know that ahead of time, they expect it, so they're not afraid of it. But what often happens is people talk about they feel like they're getting worse. I've done this where I'm tapping and I'm tapping through something as my anxiety, I've gotten really clear, like, oh my God, I have anxiety issues. In so many ways, when I choose to see it this way, I can look at it and go, oh God, it's getting worse. Like it's getting worse. That's one way to look at it. But when you tap, what happens is tapping does not create negative emotion. It doesn't create it, which sometimes can be a misnomer. People think, oh God, it'll dysregulate people and all that. It can, if people aren't aware ahead of time that they're going to likely and very possibly going to feel strong negative emotion, then they're not prepared for it. So in their mind, they tell themselves, this created it. It's making it worse. It doesn't. It's revealing it. And I speak this with absolute confidence just from working with clients, but honestly, from my own personal experience right now, having, continuing to work through the anxiety for myself, is I could sit here and go, oh, it's creating more. It's not. It is revealing anxiety that has been buried in me for decades. And here's how I know this. Because when I get really in touch with it, this all is lost, a hopeless, helpless, despairing feeling. This is a feeling I felt very often as a child. And I didn't know how to process it. I just would sit and stew in it. And I had this, I want to share this with you, because I shared it on a group call that I have with a woman that I'm working with, is I have an interesting pattern where if I start going down a rabbit hole of, say, negative emotion, or I get fixated on something because something's really coming up and being revealed to me, it doesn't matter how often somebody can tell me, oh, it's going to be okay, it's all going to work out. It doesn't matter how often I tell myself that. It doesn't matter how often if I do angel cards, I can pull them and they're all freaking positive. I can open a book and go, okay, reveal to me something, and it's super positive, which it really often is for me. When I'm in that phase, I don't believe it. Hey, Sophia. Hey, Tana again. I don't believe it. And it's confounded me. Doing this for a freaking living, it has confounded me at times. Like, what is behind this? Like, why is it that sometimes I can get the most positive feedback about stuff? I can have things showing up in my life that are giving me evidence that I'm moving in the right direction. And a part of my brain that is so primal will grab on and go, doesn't matter. It's not enough. I don't believe it. So I've been tapping on this, and I think it was last week, early in the week before I left for Chicago. Oh yeah, Sophia, I was in your neck of the wood, but we were so busy with the funeral and wake and stuff. So anyway, I was there in spirit. Next time we'll hook up. So what happens is I was like, why is this not? So I was tapping on this, and what happened is this memory surfaces. And I shared this on this group call, this other group call I have. All of a sudden I'm like, oh God, this is it. When I was in 6th grade, my parents took me to a wake of a 16-year-old boy that had died of leukemia. And so 6th grade, what are you about? 9, 10. I go walk into this funeral parlor and I see this young boy in a casket. And it is as if somebody flipped a switch and something happened in my brain. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was convinced that I was dying of cancer. And it seemed like this went on for about a year, because if I follow the timeline to when it shifted for me, it was about a year. And it did not matter how often I asked my parents, how often I needed, like, hey, I have this feeling. They would always be like, no, that's not happening. We're not hiding anything from you. No, we're not hiding anything. And even then, when something got triggered in me, to this day, I don't know what that was, because from an EFT perspective, when I walked in there and I saw him and it triggered something in me, there was something that had happened to me in my first, say, 9 years of life that got triggered. To this day, I don't know what it is. So I'm sure when my brain's ready, it's going to be revealed. So I was just convinced this was happening. No one could comfort me. I wanted to be comforted. I desperately was constantly asking for reassurance. And my parents were like, no. To the point that my parents started talking about taking me to a therapist. It was that bad. So, and I hated that feeling. And that feeling, when I float back to that, is this very similar feeling that I have when my anxiety now gets activated. So why I share this with you is that memory came up and I'm like, oh my God, no wonder. Because present day, when I get caught in an anxiety cycle, this is improved and gotten better, because I've been tapping my freaking ass off on this. I will go down that. I'm like, oh God, no wonder. It doesn't matter what I do. I have this part of my primal brain that something happened a long time ago where I'm just convinced, it's not going to change. This is not going to get better for me. So when I had that memory, it was such an aha. And I went, oh my God. Oh my God. Like that was triggering. That pattern got activated. So how this shifted for me when I was back in 6th grade is one morning the following year. It was really early in the morning, and it was a school morning, and I hear my mom out in the hallway right outside my door on the phone, and she sounds very serious. And she says, I went to Catholic school. Sister Robert Ann called. She was the principal, and wants all the 7th graders. So I was 6th grade when I went to this wake, and I was in 7th grade when this happened. She said, wants all the 7th graders in Mass at 7 o'clock this morning. Michael Reardon, a boy in my class, was hit and killed by a car last night. And I woke up to that, and I heard her, and I woke up, and I went, whoa. And I went downstairs. I actually feel a little emotion coming up right now as I tell you this. So I'm going to tap. I went downstairs and I sat with my mom and I just started to cry. And I told her, I'm terrified. I'm terrified. I am terrified, Mom. I'm terrified. I had been going through this for so long, and my mom just held me. She said, I bet you are. She was comforting. She was soothing. She was all those. She was perfect in that moment. Perfect. She couldn't have behaved better. And she must have known in that moment. And I went to Mass, and we're doing this memorial for him. And we had heard the story about he was crossing the street on a busy road, and a car hit him, and I won't tell you the details, but I heard the gory details. And all of a sudden, as quickly as that switch flipped, that I'm like, oh God, I'm dying, and nobody's telling me, it flipped off. And I had the thought, I could die at any moment. I could be crossing a street, and I'm going to die. And I was also terrified of dying when I was younger, because I was afraid I was going to go to hell. So you can imagine, like, if I were to die, I would just burn in the eternal fires of damnation, and I would live out this just painfully horrendous, existence. So throw that in. No wonder I was terrified of dying. But all of a sudden it was like, I could die at any time. I could be crossing the street and die. So what if I can let go of this belief? Like, it was weird. As fast as it came is as fast as it left. And it was just like something shifted again. And I was just like, and what I noticed after that is it started to ease up, and I stopped believing it. But stopped believing that I was dying of cancer, and I just started to feel better. So why I share this with you is that memory came up, I believe, for me to continue to tap through it and tap through as many parts of that as come up. And it's revealed. And I could tell you, oh God, my anxiety's gotten worse. No, this anxiety that has been buried is revealing more and more and more. And I wanted to share this because I think it is so important to know this when you're tapping, when you're like, I'm freaking tapping on this and it's not working, or God, I'm feeling worse. Tapping does not create negative emotion. It reveals it. And it can, and I say this all the time, and I'm tapping. I am a firm believer, and this is Marty Murphy's personal opinion. So please, I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that. I'm an EFT practitioner, certified. I'm a certified psychosomatics trainer. That's my background, and a lot of tuition for life, and a lot of personal development. It is my personal belief, though, that our brain does not reveal to us what we're not ready to see. And when we're ready to see it, it can feel so painful. But if you know that's going to happen, then you don't have to go down a rabbit hole of getting super dysregulated and feeling like, oh, tapping is re-traumatized me. It does not have to be that way at all. So please know that's my opinion, and I really wanted to share this with everybody. So I just thought this was important to share. So whenever you're in that doubt, just know that. So I'm going to do a quick tapping. So karate chop. And after that long dissertation, even though I have this belief that tapping can really create negative emotion, I choose to honor that I feel this way. Even though sometimes I tell myself, tapping creates more anxiety, creates more anger, creates more intense emotion. What if that's not true at all? I choose to accept my feelings now. And actually just go to the eyebrow. What if it is so true? It doesn't create negative emotion. It just reveals it. It reveals more of what's already there. And I'm just letting my brain know this right now. It's revealing emotion that's been buried. And if I know this, that feels less scary for me. And I don't want to belabor this. So anyway, hopefully you found that helpful. And that's it. And again, if you have any tapping requests, let me know and I'll get to them when I can. And Tana, if you're still here, and Sophia, great to have you watching live. And that's it for now, and see you next time. Bye-bye.